If you're listening to my voice, congratulations on surviving 2019, and you've made it all the way through to 2020, where you're going to listen to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode 15. We're going to talk about all things Stadia going forward in the future, and all the news from the weeks you've missed. So without further delay, on to the show. Hello gamers and welcome to episode 15 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, the first official episode of 2020. The future is now. I'm joined this week by my usual co-hosts. We've got Tom, who's back from a sickness bug.
Something like that, yeah.
Still recovering.
Recovering.
Alongside him, we've got Richie as well, recovering from his New Year's party.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year indeed, gentlemen. Hope it's been a good one and merry with no one being sick in your house or anything.
Well,
several people being sick in your house if you were hosting a New Year's party. Hopefully it was little bit cleaner than Richie's. Tom, as mentioned, you're recovering from a virus that's been going around.
I am. Wonderful winter virus. Great stuff.
Alas, there's nothing better than when you're unwell or unfit than a bit of gaming to make you feel better about yourself.
Plenty of time for it.
Plenty of time.
I hate being ill over Christmas. You get a nice break from work and nope, yeah, going to be ill.
Yeah, I was the same. I'm still recovering, so if I cough up at any point during this podcast, I apologise in advance. Almost had one come on there as soon as I said that. Yeah, I'm good. The problem is when you laugh, because that kind of implores a cough on as well.
Tickles the throat.
Tickly throat, yeah, tickly throat. Which is ideal for audio podcasts. So we've had a bit of a lapse in Stadia talk over the last couple of weeks because we've pre-recorded our last two episodes, which we staggered over Christmas, so you didn't miss an episode. So for those of you wanting Stadia news current, we apologise if we missed a little bit of news over the time, but hopefully we're going to catch up now. Remember, if you enjoyed all the content we created in 2019, feel free to head over to our YouTube channel, click subscribe, follow us on Twitter just for our latest news. And we do have a Patreon page, which we're looking to refresh a little bit going into the new year. So to get started, I think, gentlemen, we might as well catch up on all the Stadia news that we've missed over the last couple of weeks, which means we kick off the show with
the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka After 3, 1, 2, 3, the news.
Oh, Richie, you were still just, even with a countdown. Were you questioning whether he was going to go silent on 3?
Yeah.
Do we go on 3?
I was overthinking it.
After 3. You know what we need? We need like a visual countdown, but knowing that, we'd have some kind of delay on the video feed and we'd still miss it.
Probably.
So,
yes. I think we need some of
I'm going to buy a bottle of champagne, and if we ever get it right, just crack that open.
Yeah.
Sound off the accents.
It's actually getting to a point where we should just all record us saying the news to make a soundbite of the recording.
You have to edit in.
It's the only way we're going to get it perfectly timed is if it's actually edited to the millisecond. But yes, so kickstarting us off with the news that's happened over the last fortnight and over the close of the last decade. I think Stadia dropped on us nicely just in time for Christmas was another sale on the Stadia store. So looking at the games that have dropped on there, anything that you two have picked out caught your eye?
I actually bought Rage 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. Not a lot of people actually do talk about it, to be honest with you. But when I saw the sale for it, I saw at the price that actually put it down for us Brits. They knocked it down to a nice round £13.20. But hey, whatever. I'm not going to argue with that. I thought I'll take the leap, and actually, it's fucking beautiful. It's a really, really pretty game.
I know the Facebook page has been giving it a lot of love, but Rage 2, I think, is one of them games, when it initially launched, it kind of got, I think, lost in the weeds with a lot of other games at the time.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I feel like it came out from Bethesda, but I feel like it also came out at a similar time as they were really focusing on other things. It almost felt like a side project to them. I know they did a big marketing campaign with all the neon pink and yellow and such. I personally didn't have any interest in it because I felt it looked a lot like Far Cry New Dawn, which came out in the springtime. Yeah. So for me, I already felt like I'd got my kind of fill of neon paint, colours, futuristic kind of first-person shoot 'em up, create chaos in a world kind of hits. So that was the reason I avoided it. Plus, I don't even remember Rage 1 existing.
It's a bit of an issue, isn't it, when the market starts to get saturated by certain types of titles, really? I mean, when you start to see the same sort of themes, as you say, with Far Cry and so on, you tend to see that same sort of plot get blended in, and they all start to become one big coagulated sort of experience, really. But yeah, I've not played it, so I figured, hey, I'll give it a shot, and yeah, it's decent. I haven't put a lot of time into it yet, but I'm planning on doing it hopefully in the near future. I've got a couple of other games I want to crack out first, but it's on the list amongst everything else to play.
Yeah, I'm very close.
For the price, definitely, I've been very intrigued by it. I know it actually came out in May last year, so it's relatively new. But it came out, to be honest, for me, at a time when I was kind of neck deep in the house buying process, so I kind of wasn't looking at any games at the time, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think it has fell through the weeds, and I think when it launched on Stadia, I think the price kind of probably put a lot of people off.
Yeah.
I don't think it was marked up at $49.99 for the longest time since launch.
There were also a lot of really big titles that came out around about the same sort of time. I mean, looking at sort of March to May time last year, you had things like The Division 2, you had Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. You know, these are games that have now gone on to actually win awards, as we now know from the end of the year. Mortal Kombat 11, you know, lots of these games came out around that same sort of time. So sort of understandable that it got lost a little bit. But
yeah. I'm very much on the fence with it. I know we've mentioned in previous episodes, if you save up your Google Opinion Rewards points through an Android device, you can spend them on Google Stadia. Basically the surveys that I've been accumulating, I'm so close, which is why I'm keeping my eye on Rage 2. I think the deal ends for that price point on the 8th of January. Currently, my Google balance from doing all these surveys, I've racked up a load recently since I started using it. I found I've got surveys every other day. I've accrued enough to have me sitting at a nice £12.78 at the moment. So I'm so close to that £13.20 point. But the downside is you can't use the Google Play credit that you get from the surveys as like a part exchange to purchase it. It needs to be the full price. So I can't do the full £12.78 in and just pay the difference out of my own money.
Right.
It needs to be the full whack, which is what's limited me. It's a very shame. So I'm so close. So... Well, at the time of recording, we're on the 5th, so I've got several days to get a few more surveys in. But I don't choose when the surveys come, so...
You just need to go to lots of different places and get the location-based ones. Just keep driving around.
Yeah.
But with Rage 2,
short.
I wonder if part of the reason was people were a bit down on Bethesda last year with the absolute shoddy launch of Fallout 76. Yeah. That was like October the previous year. So it's like, oh, it's another Bethesda game. At the time, like, I don't think Rage is the title to really bring Bethesda back into the people's general love. So a lot of people probably looked at it and went, no, at the time, especially if there's other stuff.
You could be onto something there. I mean, there is that sort of like mentality that goes around. We've discussed it before when people start to get certain ways of feeling about different developers and publishers, that they do sort of tend to stray away from their games a little bit. So quite possibly. Going back to the whole idea with like the Google Opinion Rewards and so on, I was just thinking then actually it'd be quite nice if perhaps Google considered a sort of system similar to Nintendo in a way. Richie, you'll have some experience with this. Chris, not sure about yourself. So when you purchase games, you sort of rack up like your gold coins alongside it, don't you? That you can also spend to actually get discounts on future purchases as well. I feel like that'd be quite nice. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just asking for free stuff.
I tend to use that for my online subscription every year.
Yeah,
it's a way of keeping my Tetris addiction going.
Yeah, but they have the kind of credit set up already there with the Google Play Store. They already have an entire ecosystem based around digital currency, so
need to implement
it wouldn't be too hard. Yeah,
just have like a Stadia attach like a Stadia wallet to your own Google one.
Google
sync them, so it's just there.
Yeah. And again, they have Google Pay, and they're well within the world of finance and digital payments and stuff. Actually, just yesterday, I went to see the new Jumanji movie, and I paid for that using the Google Assistant through an Android phone, which is essentially just a quick search for the cinema times, and without going direct to the cinema website, it kind of created a little overlay of half my mobile screen. and it asked me what time I wanted to do. It linked to my Google account, and behind the background and kind of grayed out screen, you could actually see Google filling out the blanks. So put in my name, put in my card details. All it needed was the CV2 number. And you could see it working away in the background, kind of filling out all the blanks from my own Google account, which is, it's a world we live in where it's half Skynet knows everything about me. It's putting all the information into the system. But yeah, I booked cinema tickets seamlessly without even using that. So Google has the infrastructure for digital currency and exchanging money between different programs. It's already nailed down. It's seamless. So yeah, rolling that out would be a really good feature, I think, going into the rest of the year.
How does it work on the Play Store? I don't really buy apps through the Play Store, so can you use not the Google rewards to top up on the Play Store?
Yeah, you can use the gift cards, you can use Google reward points, so the opinion rewards credits that I was just mentioning, essentially when you get to the point in the Google Play Store of either buying an ebook, buying a movie, downloading an app or a game, instead of paying with your card, which just shows up on screen, there's a little drop down option. You just select Google opinion rewards credit instead, just like you would select the drop down and go to a gift card and put in a £10 voucher or such.
Well, there's the answer. They just need to implement that.
Yeah,
into Stadia.
Seamless.
I just think with the amount of platforms that Google have available as well, it might be quite good for them to actually consider some sort of loyalty program. I mean, they've already got these systems in place anyway for rewards and for people. It exists across different platforms, but if people are purchasing things through different platforms or using Google services, then reward your users. Perhaps offer some sort of incremental discounts or some sort of currency building platform as well. On top of that there to help support purchases through different forms instead. I don't know. It's just my thought, as I say at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something that's in the pipeline for them. So looking at the other sale prices that we got on the Stadia store, Rage 2 certainly the cheapest and probably the biggest chunk they've cut off the price. Final Fantasy 15 has been brought down to £17.50.
I just want to point out with Final Fantasy 15, I glanced at the PlayStation store earlier, and this is the day one version, I think, or just the base version of the game. On the PlayStation store, you can get the Royal Edition for $14.99, so that's not actually that good of a sale.
The Final Fantasy 15, I can confirm on Stadia, comes with everything. It comes with all DLC.
So it's basically the Royal Edition.
It is. It's just not marketed as it, which is quite strange. But It is the only version of Final Fantasy 15 released on Stadia. If you go into the store to actually look at it, it further clarifies that it does include all of the everything essentially. So you get all of it at the reduced price. So yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, perhaps it's not as bad of a deal as I thought, but yeah,
not the best marketing.
Yeah, there is some interesting marketing with the game as well, because I know certain variants of games are up in much more detail. I know Red Dead Redemption, there seems to be about 3-4 different varieties you can choose from. Whereas other games, they just seem to be the base model. But you're right, Tom, in saying that and Richie, the way they're not kind of promoted or in the detailed description. It doesn't really explain what version you're getting outside of the usual such. An example for me is the Tomb Raider game, which we'll get onto, Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's the 20th year celebration, but nowhere on the actual store does it really say what it includes. It mentions features outfits and weapons inspired by the other skins and DLC, but it doesn't detail that you're getting more than you would have done from the base model, because that's the only version available.
It should be for that. That's just a one line of text saying contains all DLC.
Yeah, nice and straight to the point. Again, don't get me wrong, in the description it does state that it comes with the Blood Ties story and Lara's Nightmare, but if you hadn't played the game before, it doesn't really explain that you're getting everything that everyone got on, say, the Game of the Year with the DLC content.
Well, I'm going to add one on top of that as well. Going and looking at Borderlands 3 on the store. So I purchased the Super Deluxe Edition, which is the edition that comes with all of, it comes with the campaign add-ons. It comes with the season pass. It comes with the additional weapon skins, mods, and so on there. When I purchased that, it tells me on the store that I've got the base version of Borderlands 3 as well as the Super Deluxe Edition, but it doesn't tell me that I've got the Deluxe Edition, which is the same minus a few things. So I can still buy the deluxe edition if I want to, but I don't get anything because I've got all of the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
Have you tried?
I'd be interested to see if it came up with like a flag disclaimer just saying like, just so you know, you already own this game. Because you're right, if we were to say purchase a digital movie on a digital storefront, if you went to buy that movie a second time, it would probably say you've already purchased it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because with a game, it's quite different to a movie. You're going to get the same version of a movie, or outside of extended editions aside. You're pretty much going to get the same one regardless of where you buy it from. However, yeah, a game, you're right, Tom, in saying that the DLC and different versions of it and the way it's so split out for pre-order editions, special editions, deluxe, gold, platinum, whatever they're all called now, you may not necessarily be benefiting. So
yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone who's listening along to the podcast, correct me if I'm wrong. Let us know in the comments and so on. Get in touch with us over Twitter. But the Super Deluxe Edition of Borderlands 3 includes everything that the base version and the Deluxe Edition comes with, plus a few different extras as well.
I think, isn't the Super Deluxe basically the Deluxe with the Season Pass?
It is. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
I kind of felt the Deluxe version was kind of redundant unless you're someone who really loves cosmetic items in games. Your choice for me was a straightforward choice. Do I go for the base version or do I go for the base version plus Season Pass? Because I don't care about the cosmetics too much.
Well, time will tell.
It's all about the base.
I'm not willing to drop another £44 on testing that theory, though. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Get your refund as long as you don't play for 2 hours.
True that.
Does that count if you've already played the deluxe version for 2 hours? Because technically you've played Borderlands 3 for over 2 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be another interesting caveat that might be in there.
What say you, Google? What say you?
Yeah, there's something in that. Pardon me. Other games, yeah, we got NBA 2K20 dropped out at $29.99 English pounds, and Red Dead Redemption 2 also got a discount, not so heavy. Down to £43.99, which still seems incredibly pricey.
NBA, I'm not interested in NBA, to be honest, but I have just noticed something very interesting on the store. The base version is $29.99. The digital deluxe version is $27.50. I don't know what the difference is.
Interesting.
But that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. You buy the better one for less.
Yeah.
Seems to be. But yeah, thoughts on the Red Dead price? Because it's not enough to tempt me back in.
No.
Well, Richie, you haven't played it, have you? So
no, I glanced at the PlayStation store earlier, and it's not on sale there, so it's $59.99. So if you are interested in Red Dead, I'd say there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like on the Xbox store.
Well, glancing around at online communities, a lot of people on Stadia at the moment do seem to be picking it up at that price point. So good for them. But again, I don't really fancy it at that price. I'm going to wait till it comes down a bit more before I go portable with it.
I think part of the problem is, I think it depends what you want to use Stadia for. If you're using this as a home games console, you can pick up from Amazon at the moment Red Dead Redemption 2 for $24.99 on both PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
But then you're losing the convenience features of Stadia, so it's...
Yeah, it's catch-22. I do feel like we're at a moment with the games release list for Stadia is everybody who wanted to play a specific game jumped in and bought it regardless of the price because that was their go-to game they wanted. I feel like the rest of the library at the moment, people are quite open to jumping in and buying the games when they hit like that kind of sweet price point. I feel like if Red Dead dropped down to £20 this week, I'd be very tempted to pick it up. Because I want that expanded library that I'm going to have to kind of jump in and play at any point I want. But I feel like, we're slowly trickling through the catalogue. Like Rage 2 is a prime example of they're just working their way through it and seeing what they can do to entice people into these maybe games that's not people's first choice. But if you hit that right price, they're going to jump in and pick it up.
I can't remember if we touched on this last year, but I think them having less games in the store is a perfect place for these lesser loved games like a Rage 2 to get a bit more love. I know, Red Dead kind of, I think, is in that bracket. I know it was like really big on launch, but you don't hear anything about the Red Dead Online side of it compared to what you did with GTA 5.
Yeah. I mean, just this week,
GTA
5 went on Games Pass. Xbox Game Pass, and then that's now on all like the digital storefronts. I've seen advertisements on Facebook for it, and again, this is a game that's like nigh on 7-year-old, still getting pushed and promoted on all the big platforms.
I'm actually still surprised that Rockstar have managed to get a game on Stadia, because they've been terrible with getting games on PC historically. So porting games is not usually something that Rockstar does a lot of.
Yeah.
So maybe we might get GTA 5 at some point.
That would not surprise me. I think while they toil away on the inevitable Grand Theft Auto 6,
it's free.
Hopefully Return to Vice City. Yeah, it's free money putting it on another platform.
As long as it's not too difficult for them to port it over, it's basically free money for a game that actually rakes in money.
Well, it's on PC now, so again, the base platform to port over should be wrapped up and done. But yeah, so that brings us to an end on all of our Stadia sales currently. A lot of those deals do end at the beginning of January. So if you are keen on picking up one of those deals, I'd implore you to do so sooner rather than later. Don't wait for that delayed January payday. Other announcements that we did get, though, heading into the end of December, was our January Pro games got announced as well. So we got two games. Again, I don't know about you both, but I wasn't expecting two. We got Rise of the Tomb Raider, the 20th anniversary edition, and we got Thumper, which is the little indie game that's kicking out on Stadia.
Mm-hmm.
I personally was expecting two, because we've got two every single month, and I kind of think like what they seem to be doing, going for like a AAA title and an indie game. I kind of think that's a nice way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I presume we've both claimed them. We've all claimed them by now.
We absolutely have. Yep.
Get in there day one and make sure, just in case it goes away at some point, you don't want to miss out on it. I think we actually put in our chat group, available to claim now. You just go in and tag that, which is a good thing with digital. You don't have to wait for delivery.
Yeah,
you literally just immediately jump in, click claim. It's yours.
Actually, I think it was you who put that in there, Tom, and I actually saw it open up my Stadia app, went click, done.
Yeah. It's just the benefit of the system again, isn't it?
Yeah, simple as that. So, Tom, you haven't played Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I've not, but I have played Thumper.
You played Thumper. What? Give us your hot take on that then. How have you found it? Describe it to us.
It's an acid trip. If you have a big TV and you sit close enough to it, it's. I have to say, this is where the response time from Google really shines through, because it is a very high-paced, reactionary beat game. It's a rhythm game. That's what it is. You're going down a single track, and you have to do different button combinations, different movements using the sticks and so on to navigate a path on screen to attack an enemy in the far distance. And you're only able to actually damage the enemy by hitting certain points correctly. So there's things like you have to mash the A button when you pass over certain lights on the path. You have to hold A when you come across barriers on the path. You have to tilt to the left or tilt to the right, depending on whether you're turning corners. But the whole time, it's just got a really nice soundtrack, and it's just trippy as fuck. Like the lights, the colors, the sounds, the directions you're taking. Yeah, it's madness, but it plays really well. And considering it's free, I'd say everyone should try it. Just give it a shot.
Like every good rhythm beat game, it has to have a good soundtrack.
And you'll find yourself getting absolutely immersed into it for a good 30 minutes to an hour non-stop, like without stopping. You will have to stop yourself playing it.
What's the level setup like?
So you have different
levels, or
it's like worlds with sub levels to them. So level 1 starts at level 1 and it goes through to level 120, and then you have like a boss and a final boss of that world as well before you move on to the next one.
Is it the same boss overall, or is it different like mini bosses that you fight to get to the big one?
It changes, and obviously it procedurally gets more difficult as well as the game goes on. But each level builds you up to trying to get you to the point where you can start to take on the bosses with it. It's good. Yeah, it's really good. It's well worth trying out. You
had a chance to play it yet, Richie?
I haven't. I was kind of planning on jumping in after we finish recording today. Just giving it a go.
Give yourself 30 minutes, just whack it on half an hour after we finish recording. Go for it. Let me know.
Is it better, would you say, Tom, than Guitar Hero?
I'm not being silent.
You kind of were.
No, it's not better than Guitar Hero. But that's because Guitar Hero has a lot of songs that we know and love. This is just peripherals. Yeah. This is just a game with it's a good soundtrack, but it's very electronic. It's very, it's its own thing, really. It's not rhythm to the sense that you're playing along with like songs that you know. It's rhythm that you're playing along just to the feel of the game, and it is happening to a beat. The game is happening on a beat as it's going along.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm similar with you, Richie. I want to jump in later on tonight and just have a mess around with it. I'm staying away with work, so I'm going to take my laptop, Stadia controller, and put some good hours into some games on the go and really test out the power of 4G hotspot connection or hotel Wi-Fi, depending on which is the better. It's going to be 4G, but we'll get to that probably next week.
It'd be good to actually try it on the hotel Wi-Fi just to see, because this is somewhere people would probably use it.
Yeah, but notoriously hotels in the UK, I think the Wi-Fi is pretty rubbish unless you want to pay for it's like microtransactions in hotels. They'll charge you for a premium internet access, and the basic one's like 2-3 meg. But if not, 4G should work pretty decent. Other stories that we didn't get a chance to touch around to over the last 2 weeks. One of them was Typhoon Studios was acquired by Stadia Games Entertainment. So we actually have another in-house studio working on games for Stadia going forward. They are currently working on Journey to the Savage Planet, which I think, Tom, you were the only one of us who knew anything about that game. Yes? Tom's gone quiet. I can see him talking, but I can't hear him.
Sorry about that, guys. Typing away in the background, just didn't want anyone to hear my keys. It's an interesting title. It's got a feel of No Man's Sky to a degree in terms of like the artistic approach to it, but I don't know much about the actual gameplay itself. All I know, it's got like procedurally generated worlds with critters and so on that inhabit it. Other than that, I haven't really looked too much into it. All I do know is it's due for release on the 28th of Jan, so within the coming weeks. And as Typhoon have now joined Stadia Games and Entertainment, I had considered the possibility of seeing a Stadia announcement, but there hasn't been one as of yet.
Yeah, I'd imagine the timing of the purchase is probably to wrap up the current game and just start anew on something for Stadia. I'm sure if they've got enough staff for a sub team, they'll probably look at porting it across eventually. But I think the timing of the acquisition, I think the best we could hope for is just start to double down on a new game, and maybe several weeks, depending on how the game's received, look at porting it across, because presumably they own the IP after that point.
Yeah.
But if it does well on PS4, Xbox, PC and such, then it's something in their wheelhouse to easily port over without having to go through any awkward contractual paperwork, because they own it. So it's probably one that we may see come, my guess would be the end of 2020 if it does well. If it's received averagely, you'd probably just see it left on other platforms and they'll focus on a newer game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if very soon that Google come out with a fairly big Connect or something to that description, kind of going through a lot of stuff, what's going to happen this year, and this was one of the things. It seems like an easy win to go, and this, you remember that studio we bought last year? Well, there's the game, it's out now.
Yeah, from the people who made X, Y, Z. That's generally how they like to promote these things. But good news overall. It's great to see that they're putting their money where their mouth is once again and acquiring studios. We've seen Microsoft do a massive push over the last 2 years and acquire a ton of new studios, and that's purely because PlayStation set the example this generation of it's all about the games, and that's where it goes to. And again, we've mentioned it many times in this podcast, but with Stadia being a new platform, it really needs those exclusives to draw people in, because third-party games only do so much to kind of flesh out the catalogue. You need those games that are going to draw people in long-term and make a kind of name for Stadia, which again, acquiring a new studio is only going to help too. So I'm looking forward to see what happens with Typhoon Games and where they go with it.
Absolutely.
I think one of the other final stories, I think, Tom, you dropped this one in the doc as well.
I have, yeah.
There was something to improve your performance if you're having an issue through the Chrome browser.
Absolutely. This is one of the stories that's cropped up from the community recently, and it's starting to gain quite a bit of traction in amongst discussions in sort from like the tech perspective, really. So we've got to look first of all of understanding that what is Stadia? Well, Stadia is a video streaming service of gameplay. That's what it is. So things like Netflix, things like YouTube and so on, they use what we call codecs to actually encode the videos in order to transmit the data from location A to location B. The most popular codec that's in use at the moment is a codec called H.264. There is a codec that's superseding it called a codec VP9. Now, I'm going to give credit out to the people who posted this. So this goes out to Colonial Reddit 098, Aqua Regia, and Snaker Jake, all on the Stadia subreddit. These are the guys who've sort of put together the posts that have gained a little bit of traction here. But the idea is that for people who have been playing on a device using the Chrome browser, if you have been finding yourself to have some sort of issues compared to the Chromecast Ultra, which I have discussed recently on previous streams and on the podcast, then you might want to consider looking into these sort of hot fixes, really, to force the Stadia or to force Chrome, to actually use the VP9 codec in place. It just takes a single line of code that you have to enter onto your computer into a console, and what will happen is it will force the Chrome browser to actually run this codec instead, because by default, Chrome currently uses the H.264, but the VP9 codec actually gives you sharper image quality, and it gives a much better streaming service as well. So it is actually alleviating a lot of issues that people are having visually when comparing like their Chromecast Ultra to a PC streaming service instead. So this link, I am going to throw this straight into the YouTube comments as well. If you do want to get in touch with us on Twitter too, I can link you directly to this. But all you need to search for really is the subreddit for Stadia on Reddit and search for VP9 codec.
So why do you think Google haven't just been using this natively? Is there any downsides to VP9 over H.264?
I think there's some sort of issue from what I've read online in terms of it actually using more data in the encoding process. So the process that actually forces it to actually transmit the data means that it uses up more. Like it uses up a greater bandwidth compared to the H.264. But H.264 is an older codec that has been in use for quite some time now. Can't tell you exactly how long it's been for. 2003. It's been around since 2003.
It's pretty old.
It's getting on a little bit now. But VP9 has been tried and tested now, and it seems to be becoming a little bit more widespread with this kind of thing, and that is a more it's a newer codec. It's been around since 2013.
I wonder if this is something that maybe in your Stadia settings, when you're in the data usage settings, that actually probably might be baked into them changes. So in the 4K, it might be this is one of the changes that goes to VP9 rather H.264.
What I really need to try to get across with this is it's not going to make your game less laggy if people are having issues with latency issues and so on. But what it will do is it will reduce things like compression artifacts. So when you're watching your gameplay on a computer or on a laptop, if you're noticing you're getting that sort of pixelation and so on there, chances are it's less to do with your connection and possibly to do with the encoding as well. So it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot if you feel that your connection is stable, but you're still seeing artifacting and so on. Give it a shot with the VP9 codec instead. And I do believe there are some other people out there who've written some scripts that people can use too, where you just launch a program, the script will run every time you open the Chrome browser, and away it goes. But like I said, I'll throw the link out there on the YouTube channel and on Twitter too. If you guys want to, get in touch, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction.
Thank you, Tom. I, for one, will be one of those people who just waits for Google's best update, because that sounds far too technologically advanced for my brain.
Chances are that future versions of the browser will force VP9 anyway, if it turns out that it is actually having an impact on the performance of it. But again, it's not something that you and I can actually have control of manually with a menu option until they add that. However, this just gives you a behind-the-scenes thing to force it.
Yeah, from what I've seen of what they're working on so far, most people have said that the experience on the Chromecast is the best way to play. And I think that is Google behind the scenes. Naturally, that's something they have total control over because it's through their own device. Whereas, all these different laptops and devices they're touting playability on, there's infinite different quantities that kind of play into your performance.
Yeah. This is why I brought up potential issues with network cards, and I think I can't remember what podcast it is. I'm sure I brought it up at some point where your stability of your performance might actually not necessarily be a problem with your internet connection. It might be with your network card. If you've got a rubbish network card and you're in an old laptop and it keeps dropping the signal because it's just not good at processing that data, then that's not really a fault with Google or your internet provider. There is that one hardware issue that you're always going to have.
Yeah. There's a lot of variables that I think most people aren't aware of, and I think some of the isolated issues of people having big problems, you're right, it's working for so many people, and they wouldn't go to market with such a product like this if they knew it wasn't going to affect a very niche audience in that particular way.
I think it's probably why we're having a bit of a limited release before the Stadia base comes out with the Pro and the Premier subscriptions, just to get this information to basically fully field test it en masse.
We've got to remember that we are treading new water here with these technologies as well, aren't we? So, this is essentially one of the first of its kind. I know we've had On Live before, we've had Gaikai, we've got PS Now, we've got xCloud and so on at the same time, but it is relatively new for the current technological phase that we're in. So there are a lot of people out there who don't understand that there are other limiting factors other than just me have good computer, me have good internet, it should just work. There's more to it than just that. So, you've got to look about all the technologies that are actually used in transmitting the video across the network too. So, far be it for us to actually understand everything that goes on behind the scenes, otherwise we'd all be working for Google in the divisions actually making this happen. But, it's these little things that the community is starting to find now where they're saying, look, this is something I've tried. It's helped me. It may help you. It may not. Take it with a pinch of salt, but it's something worth trying if you're finding that, you're trying to play it in 4K. You've got a 300 megabit per second bandwidth right there. Your transmission rate is excellent. Why are you still getting pixelation? That's the kind of thing that you need to be looking for. What else could you do in the meantime while we're testing the waters?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people now, if you look on Reddit and you look on any FAQ websites and forums and stuff, you're starting to see that people who are really into their technology and like drilling it down to the most minute detail, the answers are out there now. So you're right there, Tom. Anyone who's picked it up over Christmas who's now got all these questions, or why is it running slow? Why am I getting pixelation? They now at least have a kind of catalogue of answers they can go to and search out, as opposed to just getting your very generic kind of consumer-facing answers, which are kept very, very basic for obvious reasons. Google don't want to explain all the secrets and the magic that happens under the hood. But I think, to be honest, we should probably just take a step back and acknowledge that we're into January now. Stadia's been live for nearly a month and a half, coming up 2 months. And touch wood, I've not really had any issues personally myself. We've not seen anything about outages across the board. I know there's been some hiccups with certain games that run constantly online, such as Destiny. But in terms of the actual Google infrastructure, we've not had any notable hiccups that I've seen picked up on news sites. Because I know they're all clambering to rip it apart as soon as we go offline for a few hours or a day. But yeah, touch wood, we've not had anything such as serious yet.
For me, I have a 20 megabit per second internet connection, which is kind of the bottom end of what you can really get away with for Stadia. And I managed to stream Borderlands free via my PC, so it works. I mean, I did have my data usage set to the lowest possible settings, but 720 was still very, very much playable.
Yeah.
So it shows the power of the hardware on Google's end is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, and we've said it before, so going ahead into the rest of the year, 2020, we've got loads of games finally that are on the horizon that we know about. So kind of moving on to what we've got down as the topic of the show is what we'd like to see from Google Stadia going forward. I think the best place to start, gentlemen, is probably with the games we know about. So we do have a small list pulled up, but what's great, what I really appreciate looking at the list is that we're talking some big hitting AAA games that are going to be out day and date with the rest of the competition. So I think we mentioned it before the show, but some of the ones that we do have dates for, or that we're expecting in Q1, we've got Monster Supercross 3, which I know Tom's super excited about.
Yay.
It's his favourite game of all time.
Absolutely.
Cannot wait for that one.
Love me some bikes.
Exactly. We've got Cyberpunk coming in March. I think is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
That's definitely going to be the biggest one. We've got Destroy All Humans in there as well. And as you pointed out, Rich, you were still waiting for Doom 2016, which presumably is going to come before Doom Eternal.
I find it weird because there's so much upfront promo stuff before Stadia launched with Doom in it. I get Doom Eternal getting pushed back because that was Bethesda making that decision. But I don't really understand why Doom 2016. It's a bit of a worry for me, to be honest. What does that actually mean? Because there must be a reason. We've literally seen it running on the platform.
Yeah. They obviously run the risk now as well as having Doom 2016, for Stadia specifically, coming out too close to Doom Eternal now.
Well, that could be the other side. It could be a marketing thing. If like a month before Doom Eternal comes out, he's Doom 2016 and it's your Stadia Pro game to get people in.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was thinking.
Especially being as we're about to sort of, well, next month we're going to be moving into February. We're going to be moving into the end of the Founders Pro subscriptions. And at the moment, I'm looking through the store and I'm thinking, don't really know. The only game I could see them possibly giving out that would really sort of get people going is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Realistically.
But I think that's one of the games that Chris mentioned earlier, where if you were interested in playing that game in Stadia, you've probably already bought it.
Yeah. I just feel like they need to. We've entered 2020. We're about to probably, within the next few days, get a new update, like a Stadia community update, from Grace, from Chris, from whoever at Google. And I think we are now at the point where I feel like a broken record saying this again, but I feel like we're at the point where we really should sort of be like given something new now, not just be told, oh, we don't have any news on a release date for this game yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. I feel like I'm getting a bit bored of hearing that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. For the first Stadia Pro game after the initial periods ran out, I think it'd be a smart move for them to bring it to be something that isn't currently on the store, because otherwise you might end up in the same issue we had with Tomb Raider back in like the first one, where it's like, oh, everyone went and bought that, so then Google have to process a ton of refunds.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think you're totally right, Tom. Is once we reach the end of that 3-month Founders Edition kind of package that we've all taken a part of, I'd imagine they need something in their kind of arsenal to keep us there. Because if we're committed to it, but I can imagine there's a lot of people out there, like I said, who look at that digital library and think, right, if I want to keep if I ditch my Pro subscription come March, what am I losing? I'm losing 2 Tomb Raider games that a lot of people probably already own or have played. I'm losing Thumper, Samurai Showdown, Destiny 2, which you either love or hate it.
That's free anyway.
Yeah, that's about it. So kind of
Farming Sim.
Farming Sim. Yeah.
No,
how could I possibly forget?
Don't take that away from me.
Game of the Year nomination. But realistically, they're going to need that hook that's going to say he's a genuine, original new game that you're going to, if you ditch your subscription, you're going to lose it.
It doesn't have to be an original new game. It just needs to be something new to the platform for me.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, because the reality is the benefit of this non-subscription model when base goes live too is that people won't hang around if they've got no reason to. So great if the tech works, but the benefit of the Pro subscription is, one, Google get money from it every month consistently. That's why they've got a subscription model there in the first place. But 2, it needs to have value, because unlike PlayStation Plus, which the perk of it says you get to play online, Stadia only works online, so they can't really negate that.
The one thing I find weird is they haven't come out with like different models for buying the Pro subscription. It's just a rotating monthly thing. They haven't come out with, this is how much it will cost you for a year, or this is how much it costs you for 3 months. because they're good ways where if I pay up for a year, you get people committed to the year, and it seems like that would be an easy win for Google.
Yeah.
I think for
all
our
of this
PlayStation Plus, I always pay for a year. I don't pay monthly.
No, same here. But I think it was something that was addressed back when we had the pre-release AMA on Reddit as well. That the team from Stadia did come out and said they were taking feedback from people as well. And I know still when you tweet Stadia on Twitter as well, they do actually tend to say they're taking a lot of this feedback on. But I know they have to go through the bureaucratic process of actually getting it approved by the higher ups and so on before they can actually come out and say anything. But I do really feel like at the moment that I just want to be told something. I just want to be told something new.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's a new month, it's a new year, it's a new decade.
Yes.
They'll come out swinging. Maybe next week.
This needs to be the year of the uprising, the year of Stadia.
Well, I think it'd be a nice point for them to come out with a big Stadia Connect and going, right, this is what the year's going to look like for Google Stadia.
Yeah, forget E3, forget everything else, just watch this.
E3 is a good bumper thing in the middle of the year, coming out in the January and go, right, this is what you can expect for the upcoming year. Then E3, say if like Baldur's Gate's going to be a winter game, that's when you get the launch date for Baldur's Gate.
But we know already that E3 is going to be dominated by the release of the announcement for the PS5 and more discussion about the Xbox One Series X as well. We know that's going to happen. Yeah. So Google have got to take it into their hands now, and they've got to say they've got to take the bull by the horns now, while there is this quiet period, and say this is how we are doing it, and you're either with us or you're gonna come and join us.
The thing is, with the rate that PlayStation been putting out their what's the PlayStation's version of like the Nintendo Direct called?
State of Play.
State of Play. Yeah, one of them's pretty much due. Nintendo usually have a bit of a big Direct at the start of the year. Google need to get in on this action.
Yeah, they really do need to. And I know you mentioned, Tom, the next-gen consoles, which are going to be all the further come Christmas this year. But the reality is the conversation around that starts usually at the beginning of the year. Yeah. I know when they announced the PlayStation 4, that was a February press release. We've got the Consumer Electronics Showcase coming up in Vegas in, I think, February. So there's a lot of rumors around PS5 big reveal happening then. But yeah, and obviously we already know about the Xbox Series X. So the reality is that quiet time is far and few between, and this year will fly over. And I know Sony haven't announced that they're even going to be at E3 yet, but we need to hit the ground running with Stadia Base and just kind of build the hype, get some dates for things, like you said, get some new game announcements, even if they are older games. We've touted it plenty of times in previous episodes, but they need to flesh out this catalogue with much loved games. We need to broker deals with Warner Brothers, with EA, with Activision, get the third parties involved to give people other reasons to join Stadia outside of this small list of games that we've currently got.
It needs to be a roadmap. That's what we need. Yeah. We need a roadmap to see where we're going with this.
Yeah. I kind of think as well, at the moment, Google are kind of playing catch up compared to the PS4 and the Xbox One. I think what they need to hit in the first half of this year is get to a point where the big AAA titles are just coming out naturally at the same time on Stadia as the other consoles.
I think this year that's going to be a pretty much guarantee. Yeah. I think that's what they've aimed for. I know we get Avengers day and date. I'd imagine all the Ubisoft stuff that was delayed is going to come day and date. Cyberpunk, I think, is pretty much being confirmed for that as well. There'd be nothing worse to undercut Stadia if Cyberpunk was like somehow pushed back on Stadia several months.
Or Doom Eternal. This is one. Doom, for me, is still synonymous with Stadia. They've tried to make it synonymous, and they haven't delivered yet. That's why I have question marks over Bethesda and what their relationship with Google at the moment, because it seems to went quiet. Well, Square seem to be loving life with Stadia. They keep giving away Tomb Raider games for free.
That is true there. That'll be an interesting time. Maybe it's in February if we get the final and third game and we've had the entire trilogy, which again isn't a bad shout from their part. It's guaranteed decent titles that we've not seen elsewhere.
It'd be nice if they changed it up instead of putting was it Rise that just came out?
The latest one was Shadow Tomb Raider.
Yeah. I mean for Stadia Pro.
Oh, sorry, the free game was Rise, yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I remember thinking I was a bit disappointed when it was that, because there's other games I think they could have picked for free. And it's like, we've already got a Tomb Raider game, and Shadow was already discounted.
Yeah.
It feels like you're just treading the same water again.
I think, again, without knowing the deals behind the scenes, I think the Tomb Raider games are quite good because they give people quite a lot of story longevity to jump into.
Yeah.
It's a good game to promote Stadia because graphically it's decent, but I think because it's not relying on it being like fast latency like Destiny and such is, if they give us another shooter, I think it's running the risk of there being too many shooters that people are playing.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know what
these
these
shooters
deals are.
at the moment. It does seem to be very saturated by that. And while we're on the topic, can we just sort of, as a community now, come together and stop kicking off the second that they announce the pro games and it's a game that you've already purchased? Because shit happens.
Happens on other platforms.
It happens on every other platform. Do you know what? The amount of games I've had to return because I've got them free on PS Plus, for example, it happens, doesn't it? Like, if you bought a game on the platform, it was your decision to buy it then. If you put time into it, then okay, fine. But you can't then turn around a month later and say, oh, I wish you were telling me this was coming out sooner. But I do understand that people are frustrated because of the limited amount of titles, but we do need to move past that now.
Yeah. To back that
Agreed.
up, it's the Nathan Drake collection on PS Plus is this month's game, and I bought that like 2 years ago. I'm not kicking up the fuss at Sony for not telling me this was coming.
I still haven't played any of them.
Well,
That's shocking.
you've got some homework to do,
I've got some homework to do.
and now you haven't got an excuse.
You've got Uncharted to play through, then Tomb Raider, and then come back to us and see how they compare. But yeah, I think people can be excused as I can't be a hypocrite about that because I kicked off about the first Tomb Raider game, but that was because I think the date they announced it was going to be free and the date the price drop was like there was like a 6-day difference.
Yeah.
So that from launch
different.
to the discount. So yeah, but I do agree. Yeah, now we're past that point and the library's out there for all to see. Yeah, if you're going to get it for free several months down the line, or weeks down the line, then yeah, it's no different than the competition. And it's just the world we live in.
I think with Tomb Raider as well, we have to remember that was the first month. I think you'd have a genuine criticism if they brought out a game now and then it was free in February. It's like, well, you might maybe just held off on that or something.
Yeah.
But
anyway, free games are free games, aren't they? So we can't
exactly.
complain too much.
No.
Even though people would argue that they're not free because you're paying for a subscription for them. But that's how digital marketplaces work, unfortunately. The ebb and flow with the price and the market and the industry, it goes up, it goes down. Just like booking a plane ticket. If they're in demand, the prices go up. It's what happens. But yeah, so I think looking ahead to 2020 then, gentlemen, outside of the games then, we've mentioned the Kinect. We want to see a Stadia Kinect some point in the imminent future, just to give us a roadmap.
Yeah, a combination of games and features, because they're still lacking features as well.
Yeah, I think the features will come with time. Is there anything you expect to see from Stadia? My big thing is, are we going to get a date for the base rollout? Like, remember, we are very much in a niche beta testing market at the moment, where the only people who are playing Stadia and talking about Stadia are the founders of the Premier Edition.
And well, on that, I've actually seen comments on the Facebook group of people like playing Destiny struggling to get groups for things because just isn't the people there.
No, on that note, actually, Richie, it's interesting you mentioned that because as of 54 minutes ago, there has been a new analysis of Destiny 2 on Stadia that has shown the player count has fallen by more than 50% since launch on Destiny 2 servers. Yeah.
On Stadia or?
On Stadia.
I'm not surprised at by because I'm one who jumped into Destiny because I got it as a free game to see what it was about, but it wasn't for me, so I moved on.
Of course. I'd expect that same thing too. However, that's probably going to have a little bit of an impact. There are a lot of people asking for I need a team for raids and so on. However, there does seem to be a bit of organization behind it. You know, there's Discord groups. Again, the subreddits are there to help people organize these things too. Yeah. But it is going to be, for once again, a niche group of people. Yes, it's a free game.
you need numbers to get this sort of going. For me, I kind of hope they just make this simple solution is to just go crossplay.
Agreed. I think we need that for quite a few things. I'd like to be able to pull my save files from PS4, for example, for Borderlands 3.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, from what I've seen, Google have pretty much opened the crossplay full stop and say it's kind of down to the developers. So I wonder why isn't it happening? I don't know.
A bit of a push.
A Gearbox themselves have said they love the idea of crossplay. So I don't know why it's not there with Borderlands, and I can't see any reason why who makes Bungie. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't just open up the Stadia community to the rest of the community. Do they really care where the people are playing?
Yeah, and this is why they need to get base kind of in the pipeline announced and just get it out to the masses, because they missed the Christmas window, which we always knew they were going to keep it that short, but they need to start building traction going up into next festive period, because the reality is they've got the two behemoths of the industry going to be pushing their brand new consoles, talking about all the power, their exclusives, the teraflops. The marketing is going to be crazy. From E3 onwards, we're going to see blue and green scattered on buses, billboards, marketing up and down social media. It's going to be non-stop driving people for that next big generational step. And Stadia needs to keep up with that, and the only way they're going to do that is being clear. What you said, Tom, about a roadmap, they need information in the pipeline, and they need a presence at E3 with a combination of exclusive dates and great deals.
Yeah,
whether they can broker second-party deals, they need something to flesh it out. And the studios are out there. There's plenty of independent studios, whether they're indie titles, which I personally think we need to see a lot more of.
Give me Overcooked.
We need to see tons more. I think one of the things I was reading about earlier, actually, as well, in relation to indie titles, is I was thinking back to the Connect before, where they said they're going to put a program in place to help indie developers be able to launch their titles onto Stadia. But we haven't seen anything yet. Now, I think one of the biggest issues at the moment is they have to pay a sort of like licensing fee or like a publishing fee to actually get their game onto Stadia. Now, obviously, a problem with that is the fact that these indie companies tend to not have that kind of money to be able to do that. But surely Google should already be in a position where they're thinking, right, we need to get these indie titles out there. We've said that we're going to do it, so let's make it happen. So whether they offer some sort of like handout or some sort of assistance with doing it, I'm not sure.
I think there's a way you could just structure that fee into the remuneration side of. So you publish the game you get the go for like an approval process. We like your game, we want it there. So what we're going to do is either you waive the fee, or we just say, okay, for the first X number of copies, we're going to take this little bit extra of the profit from it to pay that off that fee. Before we enter the normal deal is.
There's always deals that can be broken. I know back in the day when BlackBerry was starting to struggle in their mobile division, they went out and actively paid app developers to port their apps from iOS and Android over to the BlackBerry software, because they were dwindling and they were missing out on key hitters that you couldn't get. So they actively went out and said, we'll give you X amount of thousands of pounds. We'll guarantee you so much marketplace like kind of visibility. And that was just in a desperate attempt to try and get people across to it. So you're right, Richie. It wouldn't take too much difficulty to go out these independent developers and say, we can guarantee you either X amount of monetary amount or X amount of downloads. Come to us. And we've seen on Switch, indie games have flourished on there because it's just the go-to place, and they've got a bigger presence because they're not drowned out by AAA market share.
And so weirdly, the smaller store that Stadia has right now means this could actually be appealing to indie developers. You've got that visibility. It's like, why should you come to us? Because people will see your game.
Well, that's it. Just think, if you dropped, say, I don't know, Telltale are obviously going through all their new rebranding and Skybound on Walking Dead and all that. But if they came out tomorrow and said, The Wolf Among Us Season 1 is available on Stadia, that would be on all the Stadia news channels. It'd be promoted on Twitter. Everyone who's got the app, who checks their app store on a bi-daily basis to see if there's anything new there, will see that. And the reality is, it's not going to be at too steep of a price. It's a well-acclaimed game. It's easy money. People will jump in and buy that for, I don't know, 15, 20 quid. I think no problem. And it just breathes new life into an older game or an indie game or a smaller title. because it would get front and center attention on the App Store, because people scroll through and they go, there's Tomb Raider, there's Destiny, there's Rage, there's all the stuff I was stared at for the last few weeks. Oh, what's this new game? The intrigue picks up, the people talking about it pick up, and that's how it's word of mouth. That's how marketing works. And
you know what?
They need to get on that.
You could even do episode 1 as a Stadia Pro game. Like, there you go.
Yeah,
that's been successful for Telltale in the past. Go, here's episode 1. People playing us. I actually really like this game. I want to play the rest of it.
Yeah, bring back demos.
Yeah. Well, I think we did talk last year that there is a hidden sorting function in the store for demos.
Yeah.
Soon,
so
trademark.
We'll see that. Yeah. Soon, trademark. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think my only last thing that I'd like to see rolled out sooner rather than later again is to get that visibility out there. They need to break that exclusivity on the Pixel device and really just put it out mass market and go, every Android, every iOS device, even the goddamn BlackBerries.
It's part of the selling point of Stadia. It's like they're meant to be able to play anywhere.
Yeah, so do it sooner rather than later. Get people in the door, because I'm sure there's already been a few people who've purchased it without looking too much into it and thought, oh, I can do it on my phone, I can do it on my iPad. And they've got home and the realization is they can stick the Chromecast on the TV or they need a laptop to run it.
I know I've seen in the group asking.
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of people do fixes and workarounds, but the reality is it just needs to be open up an app, sync your controller, and you're away. And that's the type of stuff that's really going to get people in the door. Mass market on the free. It doesn't take anything, because the reality is without having Stadia controllers or a presence on the high street, again, who's seeing this stuff now? If you're average Joe, if it's not going to show up in your social media feed because your algorithm isn't going to catch you. There's no adverts on TV that I've seen. And again, I follow all the Stadia channels and I've seen barely anything. So what's your man with 2 kids and
I think
friends thinking?
A nice way to do it is simultaneously launch Stadia Base as you make it pretty much open platform as they intend and go, okay, Stadia Base is out now and you can literally play it on your toaster if you have a screen on your toaster.
I was playing on a smart fridge.
It's the future.
Yeah, I saw that. But then that would be a nice way, because if people see that advert, go, oh, I can literally just get this platform for free on my phone. You're into the ecosystem straight away.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the deals. It's a way of just getting people who are curious about it but don't want to fork out the current, £120, £130 to get in.
So just to wrap it up then, gentlemen, before the halfway point of 2020, what would you both individually like to see from Google Stadia before the halfway point of the year?
Go on, Richie. Start.
So a lot of stuff we talk about the roadmaps, explain what the lacking features, when they're coming, that sort of thing. Stadia Base coming out, but I'm going to mention one game I've already mentioned is Baldur's Gate 3. I want to see the enhanced editions of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on Stadia, so I can stream it and then run up to free. But it's the third installment of a series. Get the first 2 in there.
It makes sense. Why not? Yeah. If you're going to do that.
How about you, Tom?
For myself, I want to see more AAA titles. I want to see indie games rolling out on a regular basis. I want to see lots of love and support for indie titles with good pricing, but also respectable to the developers. I want to see more quality of life changes as well to things like the achievement system. I want to feel like there's more gamification. I actually tweeted Stadia the other day about the achievement system and asked them if there was going to be any sort of enhancement to it to give us sort of like a leveling system or tiered achievements to make us feel like we're earning something. They've said they're taking it on as feedback again. Whatever that means, it could just mean somebody's written it on a piece of paper and thrown it in a drawer, who knows. But I want to see more quality of life changes for things like that as well. Make the whole experience feel robust, make it feel well-rounded. By the middle of this year, I want it to be a real contender for a service. I want it to be at the level that Steam currently is. That's what it should be. That's what it's got the potential to be.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been surprised for it. My big ones is I want to see it rolled out to all Chromecast devices, because as a person who's got a household with one in every TV, I feel like I'm still quite limited to this Play Anywhere device. Still has to be the Ultra in the living room TV, whereas I'd like the whole selling point for this for me originally was the ability, pardon me, the ability to jump from room to room seamlessly without having to plug it in using the USB cable. Just bounce, go, and away.
That would be nice, but I think that's probably going to be a little more complicated because it comes down to the hardware of the Chromecast itself. But even if they found a way to limit it to like 720 or something initially,
we mentioned that a few weeks ago, but I think that's something they need to focus on with the whole play everywhere. It needs to be on all devices, and it needs to be rolled out to other TV.
Apple, get on board. Make it happen. Speak to Google. I know you guys don't like each other very much, but
get it on iOS. Make a lot of money together.
Yeah, get it on iOS. Come on, let's get the app working with them.
But yeah, so other devices for me, and just some more games day and date. That's what I'd like to see. Fantastic. So that is our discussion on what we want to see going forward in the year with Google Stadia games announcements and other such. That's been the news that we've brought. Hopefully we've brought you up to date and into the new decade with what Stadia news there has been. Hopefully we will have a Connect some point in the next week or so, and we'll have a bit more information to bring you regarding that. But as far as we're concerned over here, that's everything for this week's show. Thank you to everyone out there who stuck with us through 2019 and into the new decade. If you need to find us anywhere, remember we're on YouTube. Just search for Sounds of Stadia and hit that subscribe button so you do get kept up to date with all our videos. We do have a video that some of you may have missed. We dropped over Christmas. Was our Sounds of Stadia plays, the Samurai Showdown video, which was pulled from our live stream back in December, where we spend about an hour basically beating the shit out of each other with samurai swords, poison apples, claws, giant hammers, and a bunch of other weapons. But
it is just how bad we are fighting games.
Certainly, yeah, it shows how terrible we all are at fighting games. But yeah, it was a really good laugh. We had a great time with it. You should definitely head over to YouTube and check that out. Remember to follow us on Twitter for all of our updates and posts and when stuff goes live. And finally, if you do enjoy all the content we've put out last year and going into this year, remember you can head over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, where we've still got the Founders tier up. Might change it to the Premier Edition soon. It starts at a low donation of 78 pence or $1 if you live over the pond. So yeah, drop us a penny or two for additional support if you feel so inclined. We really do appreciate it. And remember that new episodes go live every Monday on all of our podcast platforms. So tune in and listen to us. Thank you again for all your love and support last year and now into 2020. It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you very much. We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.